Hello everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you to the session 2 of today's conference, Open Europe, Open Data for Open Society. My name is Madara, and I'm gonna try to moderate this session, which means that I'm gonna be quite strict on time, and I'm gonna introduce you to the speakers we have in this session. And hopefully you all enjoyed the first part of today. We had some excellent presentations on open data and civic society, the labyrinth and challenges and all around that. And we're gonna continue with presentations on two things. The first part is going to be dedicated to yesterday. Yesterday we had a discussion forum in Jelgava, and we were discussing two things. One was European Citizen Initiative, and the other thing was open data and all the topics around that. And two speakers today are going to give a short summary of what was discussed yesterday and what we're going to do with that. And then the second part of session 2, we're going to have two speakers who are going to tell us about their field of expertise and their projects, what they have been working on. So very much to look forward to. We're going to have a coffee break in between, and I'm going to tell you where is that going to be held and all that. And you're very welcome to also tweet your thoughts and ideas and also questions to those who are watching us online, and using hashtag OpenEU2015. And we are going to try to track all that and also answer your questions. So, without any further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Iveta Kažoka. And Iveta is a policy analyst for the Center of Public Policy PROVIDUS, and she has been doing a lot of research on both good governance, national and EU level, but also all kinds of democracy forms and approaches. And Iveta was also moderating yesterday our discussion on European Citizen Initiative. So she's going to give a summary and her insights and thoughts on what was discussed and where we should move further with that. So Iveta, please.
Okay, thank you, Madara. Thank you, everyone. Just one technical question. Do you hear me all right if I speak like this? So probably the sound is okay, so great. I've seen some of you already yesterday in Jelgava, where we discussed European Citizen Initiative, but I also see some faces that I haven't seen previously or not in Jelgava. That's why I think some summary of what we were doing there is very much in order. So we were discussing European Citizens Initiative, and there are quite many people, especially in the context of technology or open data as a subject matter, that do not necessarily know what European Citizen Initiative is all about. So I feel that I need to give you a brief overview of what I'm going to talk about and what we were discussing in Jelgava. So already for 3 years as European Union citizens, we have a possibility to come up with agenda-setting initiatives on European Union level. That means that if we manage to collect 1 million signatures across European Union, not less than 7 member states, then we can put some issue on the agenda of European Union. What's important to remember when we are thinking about this mechanism called European Citizen Initiative, it's important to keep in mind that it's an agenda-setting tool. It's not like in Switzerland or some other countries, which we were also discussing yesterday, where if a certain number of people, for example, in the case of Switzerland, it was 100,000, come up with some initiative, then this initiative is either gets adopted by the parliament or it gets to the nationwide referendum. This is not a tool like that at all. This is just an agenda-setting tool on European Union level, where you don't get get a referendum as a result of the process, but you get some consideration by European Union institutions. And the second thing that needs to be remembered is that both on European Union level and in many countries that we were discussing yesterday, the signatures can be collected both in the traditional way, where you just go and ask people to sign their names on some list, but they can also be collected online. So that's basically what is European Union, what European Citizen Initiative is all about. And as I was telling you, this mechanism has been in place for 3 years, and this year, in 2015, it is scheduled for a review. Namely, European Commission will come up with a study on whether European Citizen Initiative as a mechanism has worked well, can it be considered a success, or is it a failure, and then recommend some amendments in practice or maybe in legal regulations accordingly. So that's why this issue is quite topical for all European Union, including Latvia, which, as you know, is the presiding member right now in the Council of the European Union. That's why we decided that this discussion is very much in order. So to give you a broad overview of how these last 3 years have been and whether this can or cannot be considered to be a success, I decided to share with you a screenshot that one of the discussants pointed out in yesterday's discussion, namely how many initiatives are collecting signatures right now on European Union level. And here you see a full list of them. There are 3 ongoing initiatives which are at the very basic stages. Some of them don't even have a homepage where you can sign those initiatives. So the 3 initiatives at the moment is all there is. There is no other activity on EU level where citizens would even attempt to collect that million signature that is necessary to get European Commission to respond to some proposal. Is it a success story or not? And our conclusion during the discussion yesterday, after we had seen the experience of Latvia, Finland, Estonia, United Kingdom that have very similar mechanisms in place, all of those countries also have agenda setting initiatives where in case of those countries either the government or the parliament have to take a decision if a certain number of signatures are collected. Three initiatives simultaneously is by no means a success. In Latvia, as many of you know, who are from this country, in the portal Mana balss LV, simultaneously there are ongoing collection of signatures for more than 20 different ideas, and it's a similar situation in other countries as well. So the question that we discussed quite a lot yesterday was why is it so, and whether when we are thinking about reviewing European Citizen Initiative as a mechanism, something could be learned from this national level experience, from the tools and from the mechanisms that are working maybe at the moment much better on the national level than they are on the European Union level. The basic dilemma, which I will elaborate in much more detail a bit later, was put and framed in a very neat way by our colleague from United Kingdom. Namely, it's about balance between 2 kinds of objectives, 2 kinds of values. On the one hand, it's the necessity to engage citizens as much as possible. On the other hand, the other value, other interest that anyone who is considering introducing civic participation mechanism has to consider is the risk avoidance. Risk avoidance that comes in the form, for example, of bad decisions that could be made if the initiatives coming from people are not well considered and the state officials are afraid to go against them, or some irregularities, for example, regarding the process of collecting signatures. And all the countries that we were discussing yesterday had different ways of finding the right balance between these two interests. For example, if we look at Switzerland, as I was telling you, Switzerland is maybe in some ways an outlier, a quite radical form of engaging citizen engagement. Then it's quite clear that they have opted for a solution where citizen engagement is much more important than potential risks that come out of civic engagement. For example, they not only allow citizens to put some issue on the agenda of government or parliament, they also provide the opportunity to have a referendum later. So it's the citizens who decide. Also in Switzerland, you don't really need ID numbers and information like this for the society to trust that in broad lines the signature gathering process has been honest. Even if maybe some percentage of the signatures is not valid or cannot be checked by some institution, it isn't considered to be enough of a risk to provide for stricter regulations. As I was telling you, different countries have different balances. In case of European Union as a whole, it's quite clear that here the value of risk avoidance seems sometimes to be even dominant if we compare it to the value of citizen engagement. There are a lot of precautionary measures that are in place regarding European Citizen Initiative as a mechanism that makes civic engagement quite difficult. And I'm going to tell you about that in a more detail momentarily. In some ways, it's not necessarily a problem of the current implementation of the European Citizen Initiative as a mechanism. It's not so much a problem of European Commission, because European Commission tries to make the best of what it is allowed to do in the framework of the EU treaties that have been adopted by all our member states. And what the EU treaties tell about initiatives, civic initiatives, restrict the citizen engagement already quite a lot. First of all, they have to be addressed to European Commission. On the national level, when we were discussing different initiatives and mechanisms yesterday, it's not always the Parliament or some other concrete institution that has to be the sole recipient of an initiative. Sometimes the Parliament, for example, in the case of Latvia, can also send the suggestion that the people have come up with to the government for some further action. In the case of European Union, it's only the European Commission that is the recipient of such initiatives. And these initiatives not only have to be addressed to European Commission, they also have to concern the framework of its powers, namely nothing that is outside the powers of European Commission can be proposed. And there are some even more strict regulations that come with already those two restrictions. It has to be something about legal action. For example, if we want to have a political statement on the part of European Union institutions, at the moment it's not possible. You have to ask as a citizen for a new legal act, for example, a regulation, a directive, maybe a recommendation, but nothing else. And it has to be connected to implementing the treaties on European Union. As you see, it's a very restrictive starting point in the framework of which it's very hard both for the people to know what initiatives qualify in order to be considered by European Commission, and the European Commission doesn't really have broad scope of discretion on acting or may be some other legitimate proposals coming from citizens. On the level of on the national level, these requirements are much more general, and the political institutions can be a lot more flexible in what they can or cannot do with each initiative that they receive. So that's probably the reason why this is the result of the 3 years of citizen initiatives at the European Union level. Namely, only 2 initiatives have both managed to collect 1 million signatures. There is one more where the verification of signatures are still ongoing, but basically just these 2. And they both have received a response from European Commission. So only 2 have qualified until now, which is again much less than on the national level in several EU member states like Finland and like Latvia and the United Kingdom, which also have some thresholds. And if you collect more signatures than those thresholds prescribe, then you get some consideration from governmental institution. Nevertheless, one good thing that could be said about European citizen initiatives as a mechanism and the work of European Commission is that even though, as I was explaining you, European Commission doesn't really have a broad mandate to act on all kinds of civic actions, but when I look at their responses to those 2 initiatives, there has been a good will to explore other means of actions, not just proposing directives, regulations, and recommendations, but doing something else as well in the powers of European Commission. You don't have to read the slide because it's not visible. I just wanted to show you what the European Commission has undertaken to do in regards to the initiative on clean water around European Union. They said that they will not propose a new legislation, but for example, they will advocate for universal access as a priority to water, clean water as a priority area for the sustainable development goals. There will be further public consultations. There will be innovative approaches for development assistance to those to those countries that are not part of European Union, and this issue of water, clean water, will be very much part of those approaches. So basically, European Commission has tried to be flexible and has tried to respond to the initiators of different initiatives in the way that they can. It's also not something that has to be taken for granted. When we look at the experience of national level initiatives, it's not always that you get a treatment like that, where the parliament or the government just not only just plainly refuses you, but tries to find at least some solution. In case of Latvia, for example, at first there were not many such attempts. At the moment there are more of them. But yesterday we were discussing also such cases on national level where people get really disillusioned by the process because they don't really see that their initiative have been considered in a proper way. And also, which is good about the process of European citizen initiatives, is that European Commission has tried to follow up its initial response with some further stakeholder meetings or discussions that allow those people who have been behind the initiative and who have managed to collect 1 million signatures to see that their attempts have not been totally a waste of time. And this is also something that we should not take it for granted. It's not the same on the national level for some countries. On the other hand, and now I come back to this main problem of how to balance between citizen engagement and risk avoidance, we have this problem that that have managed to get 1 million votes decently. Why is this so, and what's different about European Citizen Initiative and national level initiatives? These are some of the differences that we managed to come up with yesterday, looking at experience of different countries. And I think they tell a lot about what needs to be considered when we are thinking about next 3 years of European citizen initiatives as a mechanism. First of all, there is a very strict registration requirement to even start collecting signatures for an initiative, and it's something that can be understood because European Commission, and also I know that we also have had this discussion in Latvia, think that the people will get more disillusioned by the process if they manage to collect 1 million signatures and then European Commission says that it's not in their powers. It's not in. They cannot really do anything about that. On the other hand, usually on the national level, such pre-registration is not required. Basically, if you can come up with an initiative and you are collecting signatures, then you can go on with the process. Later, maybe the Parliament will tell that it's not in their field of powers. But at least there is some actions ongoing, and as I've already described to you, European Commission has already tried to go out of this very legalistic framework and consider some alternative ways of engaging with people, not just by coming up with new legal acts, but also by, for example, taking into account the will of so many EU citizens in its other kinds of actions. So basically, it's a big question whether there isn't this necessity to register an initiative before starting to collect signatures for it. Around 40% of all the attempts are stopped at this level at the moment. The second thing that we were discussing quite a lot yesterday were very high standards in some member states for verifying the identity of a signatory. Some member states don't really ask for anything more than your name and surname, maybe an address, maybe an email. For other member states, it has proved to be a sensitive issue to provide an ID, your ID identification, ID code, or some other method of identification that it's you who is behind this signature. As I said, again, it really depends on how we balance these two priorities, whether it's more in the favor of broader citizen engagement or it's more guarding against different risks. And basically our discussion yesterday led into the direction that we don't really need to be 100% sure that everyone whose name appears on the list is really the person who has wanted to sign that initiative. It's okay if we have reasonable certainty, as is the case, for example, in Finland, in Switzerland, in UK, where we trust the process a bit more, because in the end it's not really about changes that will be made via referendum. It always will be the decision will lie with the European Union institutions on whether to respond and come up with a new proposal or not. So our collective vision was that the standard should be relaxed, universalized across European Union. Maybe we just should just trust that the people who are signing these and organizing these initiatives do those for the right purposes. And even if not, in some cases it might be fine because European Commission nevertheless will have the final word. We also had a brief discussion on whether it's really necessary to have an obligatory citizens committee formed before you even can start to collect signatures. It's also not the case that all the national level member states has something like this for agenda setting initiatives. So this is also a part that can be reconsidered. And one more thing that I wanted to point out from our discussion on this subject matter is that sometimes, especially when we are thinking about European Union, we are not balancing in the most reasonable way the requirements for protection of personal data. For example, if we want to see European Citizen Initiative emerging as a tool for mobilizing people for being more involved in EU matters, then we probably also want these people to form some networks to inform each other about new events that are happening on the subject matters. And if all their information is destroyed a month later for the legitimate purpose of protecting their personal data, it basically also destroys this added value that comes out of European Citizen Initiative as a process. And last but not least, the thing that we discussed yesterday, and we even focused our discussion on this topic, was whether the website that at the moment is provided for European Citizen Initiative as a mechanism is user-friendly. And again, our common impression, and when we looked at the portals in place in United Kingdom, in Latvia and Finland, was that it's not a very user-friendly portal. We had an expert from France who is part of the EC campaign initiative. He has created an open ece.eu website where he has summarized quite well. That's why I have taken from that website this table, the differences between a good website where you can collect signatures and either the existing one, and you can see that some of the shortcomings that he has already identified, he and his colleagues have already identified, and I think that they are very much legitimate. For example, if you can have one step to sign in for signing a signature, then it should be one, it shouldn't be four. It should be smartphone and tablet friendly in the contemporary world. Of course it has to have user-friendly look. Of course it has to have better social media integration. So these issues, they don't really follow from the EU treaties. It's up to European Commission to decide what's the best way how to run this process. And until now, the impression from the people who have both led these campaigns for European citizen initiatives and also the national level website organizers is that a lot could be done to improve the user friendliness of this tool. So what's next for European Citizen Initiative, and what will we do with our common impressions and suggestions that we came up yesterday is basically quite simple. We will try to press for them. It's not just us. There are very strong stakeholders who have produced wonderful studies on these subject matters on the level of European Parliament. European Ombudsman is going to have some suggestions coming up soon. Civic society organizations like European Citizen Action Service and also European Citizen Initiative platform, they are already pushing for a similar kind of changes. What we added with our discussion is this outlook from an unusual angle, namely what works and what doesn't work on the national level. European Union, European Parliament will have public hearings on these subject matters already next week. In April, European Commission will come up with a review report on whether the European Citizen Initiative should or shouldn't be somehow improved, and we will definitely send them our suggestions, and they have already been watching both this event and the event yesterday. So we hope that this national level expertise that we gathered here in Latvia on Latvian experience, on Finnish experience, on Estonian experience, on Swiss experience, and UK's experience would be very much helpful. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, I don't know if we have some time, but if you do.
Thank you, Iveta, for a very quick run-through and putting a good emphasis on what's most important. Do we have any questions from the audience about anything mentioned here? Okay, I had a quick question. How do you think should European Citizen Initiative should be left, both the technology and the process should be left only for European Commission to handle, to proceed, to code, to program, or should they lay the basic foundation rules and open it up and give it to civic society to find the best way how to carry it out?
I think that at this very moment it would be a really great thing if European Commission could come together with the civic activists and look seriously on the suggestions that they have, and then understand how to proceed. Because what we discussed yesterday is that there are different models on the national level as well. For example, in Latvia, it's the civic activists who have the best side for collecting signatures. In Finland, it's more a governmental thing. In Estonia, they're redesigning their site, but it's also it has been produced with an intent to make it as user-friendly as possible. So basically, it's not really that important whether it's European Commission or the activists, but it's very important to have all the best practices included. And I think that civic activists know a lot better what is necessary for a meaningful process of collecting signatures than European Commission does. So that's why I think it should be a collaborative process, and then at the end of this process they should decide where it should be located.
Thank you, and let's give an applause to Iveta. And our next speaker also is going to give a brief summary of what happened yesterday in the second panel. Mr. Aigars Jaundālders is a member of a board of Latvian Open Technology Association and also head of a startup business group at DPA. And Mr. Jaundālders is going to guide us through what were their conclusions and recommendations around open data topics. So, please.
So thank you. I'm Aigars, and as I was already introduced, I'm both member of the board of Latvian Open Technology Association, and I also work for a private company. And as I put it yesterday, I'm a bit complicated guy. What I do for a living is a little complicated. I do code myself. I do consult companies, I do consult sometimes even governments. So this topic is not only a theory for me, but it's sometimes harsh reality, sometimes pleasant reality, but something what I see during my everyday life. So, what did we do yesterday in Jelgava? This is not the view from the panel, this is the view from the audience. And we were 10 experts and I see at least one more here in this audience. We were 10 experts, and we had 2 hours to talk about a topic worth a series of books, probably 1,000 pages each. So it was quite a challenge, and I must confess I'm not a great follower. I'm not too fond of extreme pitches, and I think sometimes it leads to oversimplification in many cases, but nevertheless we did our best. And my intent here today is to summarize a little, to tell you what we achieved and what we are going to do next. But before I actually summarize what we kind of discussed or decided, there were a few interesting bits for me, for myself, that I wanted to share with you, because these views are not so common. I don't hear them so common, and maybe it could be interesting for someone in the audience for your own work, whether in government or private sector. And as we were so many experts from different countries, I think 8 countries, 8 member states altogether, there were 2 examples I wanted to point out here today about somehow controversial maybe, but unusual views to open data and this topic in general. And one thing which doesn't come up so often is usually we discuss whether it's whether the price for the open data for data access is too high, or maybe we should make it for free, and we had these discussions yesterday. But one example from Czech Republic actually catched my mind and stood out. It's a freemium. With mobile apps and modern services, we hear it often. With governmental services and data access, not so often. But in Czech Republic, for example, to access data from land cadastre, you can get data for free. And when you need legal, stamp and proof, then you pay some cost for this legal proof of legal status of this data. Good or bad, that's, opinions differ, but this is something that is not so often practiced in government sector, freemium model for data access. And we had representative from Atos from Spain, and they are special in the sense that they were involved in EU level project, multi-million euro project, Fireware, that has actually produced a set of open APIs, open components for cloud computing, open data and stuff. But when I asked, and they have worked with many municipalities across Europe in opening their data. And what she said is that what are the data sets that attract most attention? What data is most interesting for developers and for people from all those cities where they worked? And the answer was real-time sensor data. And that is something I also think worth noting, because sometimes we talk about only on the level of some registers, some more or less static data, which is important. But example from Fireware tells that real-time data and real-time access to real-time data is what have, in their case, gathered most attention and interest. So, but even though we were so many and discussion was so short, what the common theme was that we need to understand reality first before we decide what to do next. And reality, in many ways, today is that economic value from European data, from my data, from your data, is often, well, maybe even mostly derived, extracted somewhere outside of the European Union. When I thought about myself, what different services I use and where this data ends up and who processes my data, I realized that it's most often, states. Is it important? Kind of. Economic value leads to taxes and economic growth and so forth. But most importantly, today it looks like, like a skewed, world. Economic value is derived somewhere else. But we, as citizens, as people, still face, some risks related to processing our private data and privacy and stuff. So we kind of should change this situation. And that is the reason behind our thinking why European Union, European Commission, Parliament, Council should do something to address this reality and make change. And while we can discuss at length about standards and technical bits about open data, but I thought it's relevant, given that reality I described earlier, to talk about open data as a market intervention tool for governments to use to bring data-driven economy into reality. In the European Union, there's a lot of talk about data-driven economy, that's our future, and so forth. But how to make it happen? So, to me as well, personally, open data is not so much about, technical stuff and systems and coding, but it's much more about a tool. It's not the end game, what I mean. Open data is a tool governments should use to spur, to initiate, to give a little kick towards creating these services, to making sure that also European companies innovate on this data and produce new services and products. We also agreed, most of us, that we should motivate European Union in going into the direction of as little exceptions from opening data as possible. Open by default would be kind of, probably too bold and too hairy goal. But nevertheless, the current legal framework, which is incomplete as probably any legal framework, but nevertheless it provides too many exceptions. We should decrease these exemptions, and we should make sure that as much data is open as possible. And I actually will have a question regarding European citizen initiatives as well. I didn't want to spoil the discussion yesterday. We had too small time anyways. But again, getting back to Spain and Atos and Fireware, sometimes we think about open data as a file. CSV, JSON, whatever, file. We can go to some website and download. That's open data. It is, if it is open data. But our thinking is that it's not enough in a modern world where developers have, they've accustomed to a situation where they don't need to go into, deep dive into, all the little details about geospatial data, how to handle data, what to do with it. They have, done integration with Twitter, with Facebook, with many other sites where it's API. It's not the data to download, but it's API to get to real-time data often, but it's API to access this data in friendly way, in technically easy way, and we thought that we should point into this direction as well, that when we think about open data initiatives, we should think about open APIs as much as we think about downloadable data sets. And it goes back to a 5-way example. Why? Because you can't realistically access real-time sensor data via downloadable file. You can, but it's kind of awkward. The hardest discussion we had actually was about business cases. Actually, Aigars Jaundālders, representative of Latvian Ministry of Regional Development and basically CIO of our government, said that his dream would be a framework how to calculate business case for open data. How to, calculate cash flow, but not so much cash flow, but, the end result. If I open data, it's plus 10,000, minus 50,000, whatever, business case. And this discussion was quite controversial because opinions differed. And we had different views. Some said that maybe government institutions should produce these business cases. Basically, tell developers, tell society what to do with their data. That was one point of view. Others said that, you should basically, NGOs, someone else should produce business cases to prove to the government that government needs to open data. And then there was a view that maybe we should accept that open data is a public good. Like there was this ECI about water claiming that water is a public good, not a commodity. The claim equally, and it's supported by many economic theories, the claim can be made that open data is a public good. And if it is, economic theory tells that social welfare of society can be maximized only if access to the data is maximized, as broadly available as possible, without any limitations. So that was something that we discussed quite a lot, and various views appeared. Maybe someone from the audience here today also will share something else, but as at the very minimum, producing business case for open data, especially in advance of opening data, is a very controversial topic. Security. Why we were so many experts in the panel. It was the reason why we were so many was that we wanted to represent as broad scope of views and competencies as possible, and we wanted to talk not only about technical side of the question, but also about security and privacy, as we will see later on. With security, things that I wanted to take from yesterday's panel is basically don't forget about security. Don't forget that opening data doesn't mean insecurity. The basic stuff, and we had Iveta Kažoka, head of National Computer Emergency Response Team, yesterday on the panel. The basic principles guiding IT security stand firm in a case of open data as well. But the difference that I heard yesterday from all what Iveta said is that with open data, and especially when we speak to governmental organizations, the main difference is that we should change our mindsets in a way that we should accept this openness. We should make our data trusted. We should care about quality of our data, security of our data. But we can't assume that all counterparts, all those people using our data and maybe contributing to this data are well behaving. And this is the nature of openness. And it's just the way it is. We should just assume this and build our security environment in a way to tackle this. And I won't go into technical details, but it's quite a difference in the attitude and approach. Privacy. I see Christiana in the room. The claim was made that in physical world, in pre-digital world, and still today, Europe is still considered a leader on a global scale in terms of privacy. And we are proud of, privacy framework in many ways over other, geographies, states, China, and others. And whatever we do with open data, with big data, as I said, open data to me is just a tool. With data-driven economy, we should not sacrifice privacy. And even though we might say that average people don't understand all the fine prints of legal acts and why it's, what happens to their data, nevertheless, we agree that Europeans do care about privacy. And we should help them to make informed decisions in this new digital world. And it's a good question how to do this, right? We didn't get to the technical details and exact frameworks or so, but it was my suggestion, and I still believe it very much, that to make it sustainable, we must change this world in a way that privacy and security must sell. Today, privacy and security doesn't sell. Companies are producing services for usability. We heard systems must be usable, it should be easy, it's one click and you're done, and that's fine, it's important. But the same way as companies care about usability when they produce services, companies also have to care about security. And stick is one way to force them into this direction, but we must also produce some kind of carrot, and then it will be sustainable. We discussed traffic light system, but we didn't go into details. The idea that maybe next time you go to Google Play to download your app, another app, you would see, instead of privacy policy a link somewhere down, when you scroll down to see and read it, instead of that, or in addition to that, you would see a traffic light indicator, and if you see red, that would flag that something probably either complicated or bad is about to happen. And if it's green, then you would have a confidence that everything is fine. And these are tiny bits from this discussion, but nevertheless, I think that the privacy, security must be discussed at the same time when we discuss open data and big data and data-driven economy, and that's the main point. We should not forget about these things when we do talk about opening data and doing stuff. But at the same time in Riga, that was in Jelgava. At the same time in Riga, and I know that you probably already heard in the opening keynotes here today, this presentation was prepared yesterday, about this initiative, but the thing, nevertheless, I wanted to show to you that at the same time as we discussed, opening data, thinking about open APIs, and lessening, list of exceptions from opening data, as it turned out, Riga Council issued a statement to the press that city of Riga is also opening data. And I think it's important. It's a big event here in Latvia. Riga is not one of the largest, it is the largest city. And while we still are waiting for details and those fine prints, legal and technical fine prints, will decide if this initiative particularly is sustainable. I hope that it is just a coincidence that they've created this email address, NSA. And it's not National Security Agency, most definitely. I don't know what it is. But it's really important, I think, for Latvia and for Europe that large cities follow this suit and open its data, and I hope they will succeed. And I'm pretty sure that we will hear it even more in days to come. My open dream, to summarize it, actually, it's not about technology, even though I'm also a developer. But my dream about European Union is about a place where governments have used open data initiatives to stimulate data-driven economy as a tool and retained security and privacy leadership. And to achieve this, every one of us and the European Commission must, make very specific, very targeted steps to achieve this, to make sure that Europe is leader into this next century in terms of security and privacy and big data. My question actually was regarding European citizen initiatives. Can we get open data about European citizen initiatives or local civic initiatives? And the other question, maybe we can create initiative about opening data.
Iveta, maybe you can come in the front and then if you
counter question. In your opinion, what kind of data should be open regarding European citizens? On signatories or?
Well, you see, this is the discussion: business case before opening, or opening and then business case. Now, for example, I might wanted to know who voted, where people voted most for water, water for initiative, the one who passed European Union. It's Spain, it's France, it's Latvia, it's Arctic Ocean. I don't know.
That's a wonderful idea, but already thinking about this in the terms of data protection, I think it's a great thing unless you can identify who is it, a specific person, for example, in some distant region who have supported some idea, then it might cause a problem. But apart from that, gathering geographical data, if it's feasible from a legal point of view, then I think it would allow to get a lot of information necessary for political scientists and also also why not for businesses. I'm just not really certain whether it would be constitutional and whether it would fit the human rights perspective at the moment. But the more I think about it, the more I like the idea.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
And that was the question to the other panel, but there was actually another one, a suggestion we made yesterday. We thought that it would be a good idea to create Open Data Day in European Union. But as it turned out, it is the day after tomorrow. There is an Open Data Day. Even though we were 10 people on the panel, we obviously can't know everything, but it's the day after tomorrow.
Do we have any other questions from the audience or comments? I had a quick question. Oh, there is one. Where? Who was it?
I'm wondering if it doesn't make sense, since we're giving recommendations. Can you hear me? Can you hear?
We can hear you. It's important that they in the video.
I wonder if it isn't too much to suggest to the Commission itself that they open up their data, that their commitments to open up data, and that they've used the words utmost transparency, if they can live up to that. Because I think the institutions really should be a model for the rest of the member states. And I don't know if that would be I don't know, maybe impolite to suggest that or not, but I know that the European Ombudsman right now is conducting an investigation as of a few months ago because the practice is not corresponding with their commitments.
Okay.
Opening their own data, or even the European Parliament, for example, to citizens.
Yeah. I'm just gonna... You have to speak in the microphone.
No, I just wanted to make sure. Do you mean regarding, this is my last question, regarding civic initiatives or in general?
Well, anything that, for example, a citizen requests, they're blocking out many documents that are...
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. We should push them into the direction that public domain information is a public domain information. It's open, it's available, and we should not try to, look for loopholes and ways to, get to this data in some other hairy ways. I personally believe that obscurity is not the way to secure anything, whether it's some political decision-making or some IT system or whatever. So I personally do believe that there should be very few things governments would be hiding from general public. There are confidential and information, but it's just a little.
You had some very good insights and ideas in your presentation yesterday in the discussion. Are you going to do something with them?
Yes.
Is there national or European level decision makers who really need to hear this?
So I wanted to, ask this question in the hope that maybe next week you would give this question to European Commission regarding opening data from civic initiatives. And actually, you showed this table comparing this new website, user-friendly website, and if this website detects language based on IP address, this website already collects geographical information and it could just give it out. But we intend to feed many of these bits that we discussed, these recommendations, into next events of European presidency. The closest will be meeting of the chairpersons of European digital commissions, and we will also have digital assembly here in Riga in June, I believe, that we are also discussing how to make our input into these next events to bring it to attention basically of European decision makers and also our national decision makers.
Okay. I think applause. Yes.
That was a question actually.
Yes.
Back.
Okay. Can we ask you? But they wouldn't hear it. In
Day after
video.
tomorrow, open data initiative. How do you think? Maybe it's time to speak tomorrow about linked open data.
Okay, very quick because we have to finish, but maybe in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yes. And I think that open APIs will also help us work into this direction eventually from the technical and realistic perspective. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now we are breaking for the coffee break. We have 15 minutes for that. Please be back here at this one is a little bit ahead, but 3:15. So we're gonna start then. Okay, and thank you so much for both of our speakers. Yeah? Manir. Hello everyone, and welcome back to session 2 of the conference Open Europe, Open Data for Open Society. We have 2 speakers coming up in this session sharing their stories around open data. And as a first up, we have Dr. Māris Alberts, and he's one of the most experienced persons in Latvia around when it comes to ICTs and open data. And we're very excited to hear your story and what you have to share today. So please.
Open data is not my core business. It is one-off, but nevertheless. I would like to correct a little bit the title of my presentation.
Just very quick, you have to speak in the microphone, so
I hope, yeah.
Hear.
Okay. In fact, I'm going to speak about Latvia goes to open, linked open data society via European research projects. Therefore, I asked Aigars, what do you mean, open data or linked open data? If we speak about how important topic is, one motivation, it is quite constructive. So here is European Parliament magazine. It is a special issue for Latvian presidency. Here you see our Prime Minister. Here you see her and Mr. Junker's 3 pages. And then you see the article with the same title. After that are coming some 10 Latvian ministers. This is the priority, looking from European point of view. What is the importance of open data? Jānis, this is yours. So yeah. We are living in the world of web of documents. Now we are going to web of data. But it is not a simple opening of data sets. An added meaning for data appears. And this way we build a world of semantic web. This is our future. As I know 4 running European research projects dealing with open data. I hope that there are some more in Latvia. I do not know. The first one is Smart Open Data. Latvia is Latvian participant is my institute, Institute of Mathematics and Computer Science of the University of Latvia. In the last 6 years, under supervision of Professor Mārtiņš, there is a group dealing with open data, dealing with semantic web. They have developed technological tools for semantic web. Very impressive. Last year, when Phil Archer was here, then using these tools, these young guys found some errors in W3 consortium documentation. It was done by 1 click. Phil was very impressed. The second one is Foodie, and there is Technology Development Forum. This is a society with quite impressive founders, such like Academy of Sciences, our institute, Ventspils University, Jelgava City Council, and some 15 physical persons, directors of research institutes, etc. There's one more project, SDI4 for apps. And this is presented by LTD, Baltic Open Solution Center. This is a spin-off company of our institute and our previous European project partners from Czech Republic. But in this project we see also Zemgale planning region and Vidzeme planning region. And then the last one is open transport network. And it is presented one of the, I think the biggest Latvian ICT company, Exogen Latvia. It is a private joint stock company. We see that it's not one partner in different projects. There is different types of partners, and no one is in two projects. So we go wider and wider year by year. But these are running projects. There were several projects before that that are ended. I am not going to speak about them. So, smart open data at a glance. It is seventh framework project, budget 3.3 million euros, 75% is being covered by European Commission. Coordinator is from Spain. It is state-owned company Traxa. In fact, it is Spanish government. This is the team. In the mid, you can see me. But the story is not about me. Last year, Phil Archer was here from Worldwide Web Consortium. In the front line, the third from right is Phil. Unfortunately, this year, he could not come to Riga, to LATA conference. Here you can see all partners. It is well balanced. Academia, industry, SMEs, and public bodies. Project overview. You can see that Smart Open Data is dealing with linked open data. We are creating a new open data platform of tools. We want to make public geospatial data resources on rural areas, for example, national parks. The aim is to make available for SMEs that they will enable them to create new services and new products. That's what we hear before the lunch in the big hall. It is based on practical needs and the experience of 5 demonstration pilots. Unfortunately, Latvia also wanted to build a pilot, but we had no open data. Sorry. So we aim to help bridge the gap between geospatial data. It comes from spatial data infrastructure, Inspire World. We heard from Harel, from Bastian. Open Geospatial Consortium standards. And linked open data. It comes from the semantic web world, where Worldwide Web Consortium is involved and leading body in the world. So, I go to demonstration pilots. Ireland. You see, there are keywords: biodiversity, habitats, data, and it is for researchers and decision makers in Burren and other national parks. It's a very nice place. My advice, go to Ireland. Very nice place for demonstrators. Water monitoring in Sicily. This is the quality of water monitoring. And it works. Now, The project is running only 1 year. It will be finished this year, November. Czech Republic, Czech still with forest sustainability. Classification, management, utilization, national forest inventory, regional plans for development data sets. Slovakia, they are more technical oriented. They are making experiments with different web applications. And Spain and Portugal, they have a common demonstrator using the same technology. So you see also there's agroforestry management, environment protection, rural economical development, water management, drinking water protection. So here's some overview. How many RDF datasets we have? This is resource description framework. This gives this added value, added meaning to data. UK has Italy, very nice. Spain, 14. But I'm sure that Spain will, now after this project, will dramatically increase the number of RDF datasets. So, why do we want to transform them? We want to build new services, new possibilities for SMEs, and in fact, we want to build that web will be one big database, but we shall not feel it. We ask, just ask. So, you see, here are old-style datasets. Then we make transformation to RDF files, and then we publish them using all known standards, Open Geospatial Consortium, Inspire, etc., etc. So, and we are going to live in a new world. Where we are. It doesn't mean that it is possible to do in 1 year. No. Here, this is what is achieved in Spanish demonstrator. But we have time until November. The next steps. Here is how we organize visualization services. Spanish Portugal pilot uses HTML5 viewer. So, of course, we need query language. We are using it. So, next project, SDI4 for apps for accounts. So, it is 4 million project, but Commission is financing only half of it, 50%. Coordinator is University of West Bohemia in Plzeň, Czech Republic. SDI4 apps organized hackathon in Latvia this summer. And some other European projects joined them. You see, Jelgava, it was a hard job, 3 days, and Przemek is asking, are you going to link to Open Data World? So, here you see how fast increase the number of applications downloaded in 2010 and 2015. So this file is very tricky. I don't know how to, it's longer, I don't know how to show it is. So we have open data, we have spatial data, we have environmental data. So we get data, create metadata, then some engine starts to work, and so we harmonize them, then we integrate them, then appears link data, but I do not know how to show all this process. But the next one. So, What SDI for apps want to achieve? Here are sitting some experts, standard organizations. Okay, but there is a bridge between social networks, but it's also some intermediate instance. So we need to give services to ordinary people. And SDI for apps is dealing how to build with the problem, how to build a bridge directly to ordinary people. This is a general picture. So we have spatial data infrastructure, we have open data from different domains, transport, land use, environment, sensor data, statistics. Then we have SDI for apps engine. And then we have mobile devices. And then it goes to different domains that ordinary people are interested in. Environment protection, sensor networks, education use, tourism, etc. Next, core results. In fact, this project is building a new generation of SDI. It's building also tools. It's building mechanisms for linking spatial data and non-spatial data. Of course, multilingual support, it's by default. Cloud-based infrastructure. Data pool of open and commercial data for further reuse. API design for application development. Set of tutorials and educational materials. Set of pilot applications. Network of SDI app stakeholders. They are all also involved. And the final result is sustainable business model. Next project. Open Transport Net. This is 4.6 million, also 50% financed by Commission. Coordinator is Corwe. It is Flemish e-government agency from Belgium. From Latvia, in this project is taking part Oxygen Latvia. Here can you see all logos of all partners. You see Oxygen Services, big logo. Then you see the type of specialists involved in this project. GI transport experts, exploitation experts, project manager, open negotiations experts, etc. And here's a map. So there's United Kingdom, France, Belgium, Latvia, Greece, and Czech Republic. So there are three key goals. Harmonize data, combine data, provide tools and skills. So the process is access to data, using technologies analysis, and the result is innovation, knowledge and support. So this is a picture of what GIS is giving generally. For us, this is what services comes to smart transport services. You can see different times. Oh, yeah, I shall not repeat, so I'm running forward. Solutions. You see, here are discoverers. This can be also stakeholders, sponsors, and at the end, innovators. And this is what mainly is contributed from different countries. Belgium is giving business incubation experience. Czech Republic is giving GIS, geospatial data experience. Open government data experience comes from UK, and France is giving digital innovation experience. And all this knowledge will come to Latvia via Oxygen Latvia. Fine. And yeah, benefits. I'm a little bit tired, please read it, yeah? It's very easy to understand. Here are barriers, existing barriers, and how this open transport net hubs remove these barriers. But notice there's benefits for all end users. The last project is Foodie. Foodie is the biggest, almost 6 million euros, 50% financed by the European Commission. Coordinator is Atos from Spain. Atos is a very big company. There are almost 80,000 researchers and engineers working in this company. 80,000. Nuria de Lama, speaking now in the big hall, is coming from Atos. She is big boss there. So this is the team of Foodie. And on the right side, you see Kaspars. Kaspars is representing Baltic Open Solution Center. Foodie means, read it please very carefully. Second, read it carefully. Third, read it carefully. But all this is true. A, B, and C. And this is Foodie. I like Foodie because it is dealing with agriculture sector. On my opinion, it is the most complicated sector now in Europe we can see. I'm a farmer. I'm living in a real farm. So it's the most important project for me. So here's motivation. Unique strategic importance, and very different stakeholders are taking part. 3 pilots, Spanish, Czech, German. In Germany, you can see is involved very big organization of farmer cooperatives. Now, yeah, 6 million project. Let's go to Czech pilot. There are 3 scenarios. Efficiency of transportation of large service organization, telematics of farm machinery, and optimization of crop management. So, something with PPT. So, there is some offers, fertilizers, pesticides, other materials, cereals. They are legal obligations. Take back empty packs. And the main goal is to optimize all this process. Here you can see telematics. It really works on tractors and other units. And they are very, very serious European directives, like nitrate directive. Now we go to optimization of crop management. Remote sensing, satellite remote sensing, and meteorological monitoring is involved. Here's differences from other systems, existing systems. Yeah, openness cloud computing, over its complex set of tasks, etc. But this slide, similarity to other systems. And this is a very essential effect. Farmers do not trust big companies if they are dealing with their data. And the problem in those countries is to find a trusted service provider that farmers say, okay, we agree that our data is served by this company. It's not a trivial task. If I ask, can we find such an organization in Latvia? Who? States Bank? Who else? Don't know. So, and this is a general picture of Foodie platform. This is Service Platform Hub in cloud. You see, they are involved farmers, researchers, policymakers, businesses, advisors. And one more time I repeat, all this knowledge will come very soon to Latvia. I'm not sure how ready are our officials. Lessons. But lessons are not for us. Not for, not for us. It's for Latvian government. Who is from the government? Here. Okay, thank you. So, Aigars told about open data, so maybe day after we shall start working groups and discuss and so. No, we need today, in the evening. Latvian civil society needs all data created by public money to be used, reused, and redistributed freely without any legal, technological, or social restriction. Of course, we must take into account privacy and commercial secret aspects. The problem is that usually we provide security losing privacy. This is the problem. Aigars told it. He told that it is like two parallel rivers. No, it's not so. In life, it is so. But this type of cryptography exists. I hope it will come to Latvia soon, via IBM. Then, must have the right to participate in economical and political processes in equal position to politicians and civil servants. Two examples. The first one, our constitution says that every year government must present a detailed report how public money has been spent on the government level. Who has seen this report? Not. It means that the criteria for opening data is that everybody of us can build this report. This is criteria for the government. And let's not discuss, this data set is not important, so no. I want to build this report. Second example, Riga City Council. In Tallinn, all people living in Tallinn are using public transport free of charge. Only foreigners and village people are paying. It gives for them 4.25 million euros per year only. They give subsidy for single journey 49 cents. Riga City Council is giving for to single journey 64 cents. But who is using free of charge? Not that much people. It means that using the same subsidy in Riga, also all foreigners and all village people will use public transport free of charge. How to achieve it? Riga Satiksme is a monopoly, has a monopoly. This company belongs to the people living in Riga. They say, oh, we have commercial secrets. Oh, whoa, boys. Criteria, how much data they must publish. Every student can be able to build a business model that everyone is using public transport free of charge in Riga. We see there is a difference, 15 cents per single journey. 2 slides more. I think that you will agree that it is obvious that neither any structural reforms nor changes in education system can be implemented without opening all data that have been created using public money. We were speaking about reforms in the education system. No, if we open the data, then it's clear that all specialities using this open data, and giving added value to Latvian state civil servants, politicians. They will survive. You don't know. Your problem. Also social anthropologists. But we all know that Latvia needs urgently structural reforms. And then the last slide is coming. This is lesson number 3. The current situation when public bodies are selling, buying public data to from each other. What does it mean? Let's imagine supermarket Alpha. It is closed for clients. And employees of supermarket are selling goods and buying goods from other employees. Issuing invoices, looking, do we need procurement procedure? Let's organize commission. Then somebody will complain, this procurement, somebody will come from, etc. Yeah? It seems, what is it? It's like crazy house, but it really happens. State organization A is paying 100 euros to B. B is paying 100 to C. C is paying 100 to A. Let's involve a clearing center. No one is paying to anyone. 0, 0, 0. Fine. They are crying that there is no money to maintain data. Okay? It's easy for the government. Look, what is your income from selling data? And how much money you spent for buying data? But not give 100%, give only 80 or 90%, because we don't need to issue invoices, to go to banks, to pay, etc. So, and the last, it's even more. This public data, they try to sell this public data to Latvian participants in European research projects. My personal experience. I and Kaspars, on behalf of Technology Development Forum, went to the company owning data we had. It was the reference layer for GIS data. We told we have not a lot of money, 150. Please come to the project, you will be associated member, you will receive all information, you will use all software created in the project. Fine. They said, oh, we understand you, fine. Oh, okay, after that we receive a letter. We give you a very cheap special price. Can you imagine what the price was? 75,000 lats. It's more than 100,000 euros. And it was for pure European research project. It is nightmarish. And such situation shall be changed as soon as possible. Not tomorrow, not day after tomorrow, this evening. And let us start to do it. Let us press them. So, and then I say thank you to you. I say thank you to the Latvian state who financed this conference. And one more thank you to European Commission for PSI directive. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Albert. Unfortunately, we do not have time for any questions. We're running out of time, but I'm sure that Dr. Albert can answer your questions if you catch him after the conference. We just. So if you have some pressing questions, try to catch him by the sleeve and ask them. So we're going to move forward with our last speaker in session 2, who is Mr. Mārtiņš Štāls. And he's the head of Information Systems Development and Support in Registry of Enterprises of Republic of Latvia. And if you were there in session 1, then also the Register of Enterprises got the LATA award this year for the good work that they are doing. So probably Mārtiņš will tell a bit more about that as well. Okay.
There is a certain message I'd like to pass to you. So I'll have this fact sheet in front. I hope you don't mind. Okay, in my presentation, I'll overview practical consideration on how public sector information directive were implemented at Register of Enterprises, which is companies register, if that's easier to understand. We register companies and other subjects also. So my presentation, I'll start with a brief history, and then I tell you how implementation took place in the Register of Enterprises. Then I'll tell you about information reusers, one of them sitting right there. And in the end, I'll tell you about Open Data Initiative, which were awarded today, so it was a good thing, I guess. So the brief history starts with this story of restoration of independence in 1990, when the substantial reforms were happening afterwards, and implementation of free market principles were taking place, and also the possibility to register private companies needed to be done. So despite the underdeveloped regulation and lack of experience, one thing was clear, that the register is needed. And at that time, it was paper notebook where the records were made by pen. So the information about the companies were written in the notebook. No open data at that time, I guess. At that time, there was some major issues with financing the investment projects in information technology projects and maintenance and skilled personnel. So first, Chief State Notary, which is basically a boss to the Register of Enterprises, found a solution to that. And the solution was to have the private partnership with Lursoft, which took care of these issues, basically building the information system, maintaining it, and making any changes that was necessary. Of course, in return, Lursoft wanted exclusive access to the information on companies which were registered. So, as a result of this cooperation, Register of Enterprises was something like pioneer of public-private partnership principles, implementing it, and also pioneer in information reuse business. So it has to be noted that it was long before we joined the European Union, and long before public sector information was even defined. Yeah, but the third fact is year 2004, joining the European Union, which came with the EU rules that had to be adopted and implemented. And for example, commercial law, which was a major reform, and equal competition principles, which needed to be adapted also. For example, Public Sector Information Directive prohibits exclusive contracts for information reuse, which at the time we had. Of course, this rule has an exception for ensuring public services, and this exception was used for a while. But in the long run, of course, there should be, there had to be information, free market of information made. So it requested that this cooperation model with the LURSO had to change radically. First thing to do was Register of Enterprises needed a information system, because before they didn't own its own information system. It was in sort of leasing, and they needed themselves. To have that, a public procurement were announced in September 2010. In the end, the Lursoft was the one who delivered the information system. They basically had it, but there was some additional functionality also added, like e-services and information reuse services. Yeah, and this contract is this contract expires this year in November. So basically, the information reusers are now both legally and practically on the same conditions. Also, I need to note, I guess, that the information system purchase, all the expenses were covered by European Regional Development Fund. So thanks to that. And currently, Register of Enterprises have created two information reuse services. One of them are periodic update of information. Basically, everything that changes, you can get those updates, and only if you pay 88,000 euros per year. And other information service is one-time all historical data purchase, which is 130,000 euros. These are marginal costs, which mainly consists of document digitalization and information communication technologies involved, and the data integrity assurance, which is like a service. So, information reuse license agreement establishes the procedure in obtaining information and some conditions of use of information. Okay. At the moment, there are 3 information reusers that buy the information from Register of Enterprises, and those are Lursoft IT, Krefo Rating, and Firmas LV. There are studies that evaluate the economic potential of public sector information, reuse of that. It is also referred that public sector information and opening data has a positive impact on democratic processes and the creation of jobs. In the parentheses, you can see numbers, and these are numbers, the turnover of the information reuser, and the other number is employees in the year of 2013. So what that means, that gives us a total number of 3.86 million euros turnover in year, and then 63 persons employed in that year. And this characterizes the services that the information reusers give, or the value added to information that we sell as a wholesaler. So these numbers are not exactly economic potential, but it's a clear signal that information has value added, and the services are required for somebody who's paying the amount, and that jobs are created to provide these services. So that is clear, I guess, then. Okay, but the information reuse has its downsides too, and these are, for example, licensing conditions, and of course the costs are pretty high, and access mechanisms are also complicated, and there are many others obstacles to that. And these obstacles and these conditions and mechanisms are different in different member states, and even in one member state, different public bodies or even different data sets from one source that are common. This means that the single information market hasn't been created. But meanwhile, while the single market hasn't been created, public institutions have the freedom to choose the format which they want to publish data. And the Register of Enterprises did that by publishing the data in machine-readable format. And there is the URL where we put the data daily in a comma-separated format, which is pretty basic. And the information is on legal entities, mostly on companies. And the information is registration number, type, name, date, and address, and some metadata also. As much as we know, there is one public institution that has used this open data. And by that, they reduced the administrative burden that is involved to information exchange between two public bodies. Also, we know that a mobile application has been created upon that data, and it allows users to search companies and get the basic data about them. And also one fact is that monthly there are around 500 unique downloaders of this information. I assume that even a small fee will significantly decrease the demand or usage of this information. And by that, users of open data might choose not to, for example, improve data quality in their databases or other whatever they plan to use the information for. So the essential thing is not to ask any fees or build some mechanisms to authenticate, because now they have the possibility to look at the data and decide whether they want to use it, whether they can do it, and if it would be involving fees and some other mechanisms, they couldn't have this decision before. Yes, so while the European Commission and member states are working on that single information market, organizations, institutions like Register of Enterprises still have information that is by law said public. The format isn't ever set by law, of course, but why not publish it in comma-separated format or other machine-readable format? That's the question. Why not? Yes, because we can do that. The costs are low, and we don't have to ask ourselves the question whether there are some users that want this data. Just publish it, and then you'll see. Okay, thank you.
Mārtiņš, are there any questions in the audience? Because we have time for one question, maybe. Yes.
Mārtiņš, you said that there are packages, wholesale packages of data available. At the same time, you have opened part of data. Why do these companies would pay you if this data set is available basically for free? Are there any restrictions to reuse this data set?
There are no restrictions to use these open data sets, and the mechanism how through the legislation there was data set put, which is public. This is the place when the legislative process is ongoing. You can then put your costs there. When state's budget is overviewed, you can get some investment funds or maintenance funds, and if legislator decides that some data should be opened, then it also answers the questions where you get funding for that. So for example, we sell information, and if legislator decides that we have all this data should be public, then we say, okay, give us 100,000 euros, and we're okay. We're going to publish it. So it's a matter of funding anyway. Yeah, because we get the same. Yeah, the wholesale has scanned documents, and there are basically 2 or 3 terabytes of information with scanned documents, and the open data is just some structural data, that's some basic data. There are a lot of more in our database, and in form of documents also, which are sold.
Okay, thank you so much for a good story, and congratulations on the award again. And thank you so much everyone who came to session 2. We still have one presentation left back in the main hall, in the big hall, so I welcome you to go there. And thank you for those who watched online as well. And yes, let's get to the final presentation.